All right, so we're going to look at some slightly more advanced techniques for adding texture to our designs, specifically to text, but these techniques work in other ways as well. And the image that kind of got me started on this was this one. And you can see that one of the reasons these letters are interesting is because they have a texture on top of them that adds a lot of detail, a lot of visual interest. It makes them harder to read, but that's kind of what's going on with this poster. So I want to look at ways of doing things similar to this. And I'm in Illustrator and I've got some artboards set up for us. And you'll see that I have text and then I have an image or a texture behind it. And what we're going to learn about first is what's called a clipping mask. And so I have my text is on top of the image, and then here's an image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these, okay? And then I'm going to come Object, Clipping Mask, Make. I can also hit Apple 7. And what a clipping mask does is it takes the shape that's on top and it makes it so that I'm only seeing through, almost like it's a window. It makes it like kind of like a window. So this shape now hides everything except what is there. All right, now I can move this around my page. I could even edit my type here, right? So boat, maybe it is, I don't know, Boit. I can still add that. So that's one way that I can create texture on my type. Okay, and that can be really interesting. It can be subtle. It can be really bold. Gives you a lot of options now. I wanted to show here just really quickly that I can also do this with an image in the background, like something that's not textural. So again, I'm going to select the text and the image. The text is on top of the image, and I'm going to come Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Okay, and you can have some fun effects that way. Just as a kind of side note, you can also do this with shapes. So if I draw an ellipse on top of this, I can select into here, Object, Clipping Mask, Make, and I now have that. Getting a little bit more advanced, let's say I want this boat right in the middle of my ellipse. If I double click on that ellipse, it's now taken me into what's called that clipping group, and I can move the boat now, right? I can move the image that's behind it, and to get out of that, I can either click this arrow right here or hit escape, and now I can move that. So you can also use this to create just interesting graphic elements that can add a lot to your design. This could even be a poster in itself with a lot of interesting negative space around it, right? Okay, the last thing that I want to look at is if we go back to our original image, you'll see that this this kind of orangish brown color actually extends outside of the words in this image. So it's kind of like a stain that's on top of everything. So I wanted to show you one more technique that's pretty simple. So here I've kind of recreated the colors of that poster a little bit. And then on this layer above it, I have just a dirty, scrubby texture. And one technique that is useful here is I can just change the blend mode of that texture and it will then go over everything below it. So it's going over that background color and the text. And I can play with all my different modes to get something that is like really subtle here. I can probably get something that's really kind of, oh, I clicked off it. I can get something that's really kind of strange if I want it. But I have a lot more options there for giving texture. And this technique for giving texture is even good for like giving a texture to the entire background of your image, right? If you don't want it to have that just flat color, if you want some texture there, a lot of times that's nice. We could do that. And I could also, for example, bring my text on top of that texture here and do something like this to just use it as a background. So really simple techniques, how to create clipping masks, which can be used to give texture to shapes or create graphic elements, and then ways of using the blend mode to potentially change the texture of text or any other elements on the page. This can add a lot of visual interest to your designs and make them look really finished if the kind of the style, the vibe that you're going for is this kind of rich and textured feel.